trying to put my son to bed. He's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie gonna be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is,
you canceled school for like 2 years. One day.
The point is the point, which is you are making a damn dent.
Thanks. Why is it you were able to clean it up for Xi Jinping, but you can't clean it up?
Guys, that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. By the way, you guys weaponized that. I saw that on 25 things. It was the most ridiculous. That was you know what? I will happily revert back to your
Can I have the streets as clean as Xi Jinping?
In this case, weaponized. Can I
get the Xi Jinping streets back?
Give me a break.
No, but Governor, with all due respect, I saw a beautiful picture of San Francisco that looked like Singapore.
By the way,
and then Xi Jinping leaves and the Walking Dead come back.
By the way, it was APAC. You had dozens and dozens of foreign leaders. And California is not San Francisco, but I am the governor of California, not the mayor of California, not the mayor of San Francisco.
You were the mayor, but I just want to understand why is it that we were able to clean it up?
20 years ago.
But you have to admit, it's emblematic of something that if enough important people show up, it can get clean. So why not make it clean all the time? Why is it you were able to clean it?
As you saw from the intro, Gavin Newsom and Charlie Kirk sat down for his first podcast episode. Now, I originally ripped the podcast, and I'm still ripping the podcast. I'm like, you're governor of California. But many people are seeing this as a play from Gavin Newsom to appear more moderate, to appear more, how you say it, of the average man, right? To appear more down to earth, more human, more like pretty much we all see this as a way to help his PR. And I see this podcast as his attempt to rebrand himself. And many people are split on this. You got conservatives complaining about how, all these Marxists have access to our platforms, but when it's the opposite foot, they don't shelter us. And I think that I don't want to be like the left. That's something I've been noticing recently from the Andrew Tates. I'm hearing here in my state of Florida that Ron DeSantis is doing a criminal investigation on Andrew Tate for allegations. Huh? You're trying to find a crime? Huh? They don't make Florida look good. And these are some of the concerning things that I'm seeing on the right, is that you guys are we're starting to play. I'm gonna say we're starting to play the same games liberals and Democrats play. The reason why liberals censored people in the first place is because we knew as conservatives, liberals could not defend their arguments. Liberals couldn't defend their stances. So why in the hell we wouldn't platform Marxists? Why we wouldn't platform socialists? You think that little of the American people? And this is something that I personally believe. I believe you confront problems. You confront talking points. You don't run away from it. You don't ignore it. You don't try to not platform it. And I think we need to get away from stuff like this. I think you need to get away from tactics like this, because these same tactics in the long run will hurt the Republican Party. You won't know how to debate your points anymore. You won't know how to articulate yourself, because at the end of the day, you are what you repeatedly do. And if you're scared to debate the other side, if you're scared to have conversations with the other side, you risk being like them. And this is one of the biggest critiques I have for some people in the conservative right. Here's a clip from Rob Smith. I don't always agree with this guy, but I understand where he's coming from. But I think the better strategy, this is the reason why conservatives are where they are right now, because they're willing to have debates with the other side, whether they're Marxist, socialist. They don't use that as a means to discriminate against them. And I think that we should not go the same route as the left. But here, I'll let him speak his piece, and then I'll follow up with my thoughts at the end. Let's take a look.
So Gavin Newsom has pivoted on transgender athletes years after multiple girls in California, in the state that he runs, have lost opportunities to men. He has pivoted on transgender athletes after everybody else has sacrificed so much. Look at what Riley Gaines has had to sacrifice being who she is in this movement over the past 5 years. He has pivoted on transgender athletes after so many young women have had to deal with boys in their sports, right? And by the way, he hasn't said anything about the transgender, basically biological men that are in female spaces all across California. He hasn't said anything about the biological men that are in women's domestic violence shelters. He hasn't said said anything about the biological men that are in women's prisons that are sexually assaulting them in many numbers, right? You can see those stories because they are out there. So now, for Gavin Newsom to just pivot a little bit about biological boys in girls' sports, now that it is the most safe time it has ever been in history for him to do that means absolutely nothing to me. That man has a record, and his record shows that he didn't care about biological men in women's sports, all right? So what conservatives need to stop doing is you need to stop allowing these liberals that have actual voting records. These people are Marxists, and they govern like Marxists. You need to stop allowing yourself to be used by these people. I am tired of it. I am tired of every time some leftist, some Marxist, the kind of person that fired people because they didn't take the jab, the kind of person that shut cities and shut businesses down under COVID, the kind of person that did those things, as soon as they say something based, they know they can run to conservative media and conservative political commentators are going to launder their reputation. We need to stop doing that.
So, as you know, I already disagree with everything that Rob Smith says. I believe conservatives should continue having debate. I believe conservatives should have these people on their platforms. And it's not about modernizing them. This is how I see it. It's not about modernizing them. It's like confronting them with things that they've never been confronted with before. And as you see from when we do my live reaction to the 5-minute clip that I have queued up here, you're gonna see that a lot of liberals did not like Gavin Newsom starting off the podcast with Charlie Kirk. He's causing outrage. Like, at the end of the day, how are you gonna reach the other side? I thought the point was to confront these ideas. Because I think my whole purpose here is not to win power, not to win political tactics or political talking points. My thing is make the best ideas win. How can you know you have the best ideas if you never had them confronted by someone who vehemently disagree with those ideas? Sure, Gavin Newsom can use this as an opportunity to rebrand himself and appear more moderate, but I believe most people will see his voting record and challenge him the same way we challenged Kamala Harris. So I think this concern is exaggerated in my view. Maybe someone could disagree with me in the comment section, but Rob Smith's concern is exaggerated in my view because Kamala Harris tried to do the same thing and it didn't work. So even if Gavin Newsom, let's say he runs to 2028, he used a lot of these clips that he had with Charlie Kirk and other conservatives that's on his podcast, people ain't gonna fall for it. So I don't understand where this concern is coming from. I just think it's just another way to criticize conservatives. Damned if you, damned if you don't. If Benny Johnson has Andrew Tate on his podcast, conservatives are starting to play the same tactics as the left. And to me, as an independent, conservatives need to be different from the left. I'm sorry. That's the reality. You have to be different from the left. What I like about the conservatives, why I consider myself a conservative, is I feel like they confront the issues head on. They don't ignore problems, they confront it. Okay, you think women should be men, men should be women? Why? That's what made the conservatives. Going on college campuses, getting confronted, getting hounded by thousands of students and holding their own because they had the better idea. That is a conservative brand. And if you start going away from that, you're going to start losing people. Because if there's no difference from you and the left, people are going to choose the left. Daily Mail says Gavin Newsom splits from California liberals and condemns transgender athletes in women's sports in chat with Charlie Kirk. It's deeply unfair. And this is some of the merits of confronting these ideas. Because it's easy to talk in slogans and in talking points and rehearse lines. But when you get into the nitty-gritty, when you challenge on the nitty-gritty, you find out what someone really is. And all he did was put sunlight on Gavin Newsom. Now there's chaos on his side of the aisle. Now there's liberal women in California fearful that somehow Gavin Newsom is going to change his ways and it's going to end up like a right-wing state. Make it make sense. I don't care that Gavin Newsom has evolved or on not allowing boys and girls sports. He has a record as a far left radical. Exactly. Conservatives, stop elevating these Marxists and allowing them to use you to seem more moderate. But superficial stuff don't work. If superficial stuff work, Democrats would have won the election right now. We could have the first woman president. Like, I think the American voter is smarter than many people give credit to. Right, the left's in chaos right now. The left, they can't handle ideas. And I think us, not confront, like, I don't know. I don't want to play these tactics, right? The biggest threat in 2020 is not far left ideologues like AOC, Tim Walz, or Jasmine Crockett. The biggest threat is an intellectual shapeshifter like Newsom. He failed San Francisco, is failing California, and cannot fail upwards to the presidency. Don't get distracted. Don't underestimate him. But he needs to win the Democratic primary to do that first. And if he doesn't appear like a radical, how can this interview here can hurt his chances in the Democratic primary? He has to make it out of the Democratic primary first. And all Charlie Kirk did was sit down and have a conversation with him. And the left did not want that to happen. And now people on the right saying that it's a bad thing. Now you want criticism. Make it make sense. What happened to the conservative movement, man? And this is why I have some concerns of former liberals coming into our party, because they bring their liberal habits into the conservative movement. We confront problems head on. That's the Republican conservative brand. We debate. You don't like someone's idea, you bring them on your show and say, hey, let's hash out it. Okay, you can seem moderate, but Charlie Kirk was calling him out the whole time. Hey, you shut down schools. What's one day? But you worrying about like perception. Perception isn't reality. He can bring up this perception that he's moderate all he wants, but when it comes to the Democratic primary in 2027, he's gonna have to appear a lot far. He got to appear very left-wing extremist to win that primary, because he's not gonna make it out alive if he's a moderate in the Democratic Party. So I don't understand where this concern is coming from the right, but I digress. Maybe someone could enlighten me in the comment section. But let's check out the interview in a more fuller context to see what was the left and the right concerned about. Let's take a look.
You are making a damn dent.
Thank you. I'm kidding.
But I know, but I appreciate that. I mean, it's the reason you're here, because I think people need to understand your success, your influence, what you've been up to, and the fact that you're on these college campus tours. And to your point, man, you just open up. I mean, you're like, ask me anything.
Anything.
Challenge me,
whatever.
When did this whole thing, when did you start?
And this is like, imagine how much cultural weight conservatives now have. And many conservatives like Rob Smith are trying to tell Charlie Kirk, oh no, don't platform these people. Have an open discussion. Because our goal isn't to win politically. It shouldn't be anyway, in my view. If you're an ethical politician, I believe it's okay, let's make sure that we have the bias, the proper ideas, the best ideas, and that's what makes it to the top. We're a meritocracy. And to gatekeep and shelter, like, oh, we don't want to share our platform with these Marxists because they may appear moderate. No. This is where you're supposed to go harder. You don't stop what got you here. Like conservatives, I think we have to stay consistent. Right? We have to stay consistent. And I'm glad Charlie Kirk did the interview. I think this made Charlie Kirk look even better. It made Charlie Kirk look culturally significant, which what the left hates. This is one of the criticisms that the left have about Gavin Newsom launching the podcast first episode with Charlie Kirk, that it gives him legitimacy, the way that he's praising him. You saw how he started off. Gavin Newsom admitted that his son listens to Charlie Kirk. Imagine that. Your dad is the governor of a state that overwhelmingly votes Democrat, and his son is listening to Charlie Kirk. I think this would have never happened if Charlie Kirk never sat down and took the podcast with Gavin Newsom. And this is what I'm saying. No, when you in the power position, I don't know, it's because of my mentality, because I grew up playing sports, but it's like you go all out. You don't leave any opportunity, any stone unturned. I'm not with this, playing defense. No, you go on the attack. You don't stop. That's what made Trump so popular. Instead of shrinking or hiding or trying to protect himself or protect his platform, he went, no, I'm going at you. And that's what people can respect. But I digress. That's just my thoughts. Let's hear how the interview went.
I've been at this for 13 years, and it's been a wild movement, really accelerated once President Trump kind of came on the scene. Right around, I'd say 2021, we had a goal. Could we move the youth vote 10 points over 10 years? And
it was literally you sat down and put that numerical together.
Yeah, like, can we move it 10 points over 10 years? Ish, approximate. Yeah. Because our whole hypothesis was, and we did this alongside President Trump and his great team, was that this demographic is disproportionately to the Democrat side. We believe Democrats were taking them for granted. We think that your side had no message whatsoever and an ideological monopoly. We saw some of the fault lines there.
Now, before I continue with this interview, in a political perspective, I can see why certain conservatives will be mad about Charlie Kirk doing this interview, because from a political angle, you're helping the Democrats adjust their messaging, their political thing, whatever, their tactics, to be better competitive with you. It's like me giving shooting advice to the worst shooter on the opposite team that I'm about to play in 10 minutes, right? The coach ain't gonna look at it favorably. He's like, why are you helping the other team? You know you're gonna have to play them in 10 minutes, right? So I see the same kind of from that perspective. But from an American perspective, because at the end of the day, we're American first, correct? Right? We're not Republican first, we're not Democrat first, we're America first. Would America benefit from having two intellectual, logical, solution-based parties hashing it out to figure out who got the best idea at the moment? Yes. This benefits America, not a political angle. And this is where I think I take a different angle from most political channels, right? As much as I like to rail against the Democrats, the reason why I rail so much against the Democrats is because it does not serve the American people for them to act like idiots. I'm sorry. It doesn't benefit America. It may benefit the Republican Party. It may benefit conservatives if Democrats act like lunatics, fools, and idiots. But it doesn't benefit the American people, because then you limit the American people's choice. And I don't want Republicans to win because the other side was so bad. I want Republicans to win because they have the best ideas. And how can you prove that you have the best ideas when you're going against a party of lunatics that can't they can't articulate themselves, and everything they do is performative? I don't think it's a good look for us as a country as a whole. That's where I'm coming from. Let me hear where you're coming from in the comment section below.
And to President Trump's credit, he also harmonized with the strategy by going on podcasting and using TikTok. But yeah, I mean, we did it in 4 years, not 10, large in part thanks to you guys. One of the things we saw in the last couple of years that the Democrats completely ignored, and your side was basically not acknowledging was happening, was the crisis that young people were experiencing.
Right.
That, I mean, it's the first time in America.
This is the smartest thing that Gavin Newsom did, because effectively Gavin Newsom can learn how to market himself in 2028, right? But we're conservatives, we're already aware of this, because at the end of the day, he has to deal with his record. And maybe he'll do what Kamala Harris couldn't do. Go back on his record and actually explain what changed his mind. And think about it this way. In a way, I think you would win in 2028 if Gavin Newsom ends up winning the Democratic primary, and he's like a moderate. Everyone's considering him a moderate. Because at the end of the day, that coalition, the far left coalition, their whole premise has been that the Democrats need to be more far left. If Gavin Newsom wins 2028, we won. Because of the fact that the far left will never support someone who's even appearing moderate, as you see from their outrage over this interview with Charlie Kirk.
America's history that a 30-year-old is going to have it worse off than their parents.
Right.
It's a breakdown of the social compact.
That's right.
They are the most alcohol addicted, most drug addicted, most suicidal, most depressed, most medicated generation in history. Right. And the message that was largely being fed to a lot of young people was lower your expectations. You're not going to have the same American dream that your parents would have. Mm-hmm. And we saw this as an opportunity, especially with young men. And again, this got ridiculed a lot by the press that, they're creating this manosphere thing. Look, they're half of the population and necessary for any society and civilization to succeed, which is to have both strong men and strong women. Yeah. And we went about that in a very unique and creative way. And again, the president became a cultural phenomenon, where no matter what you threw at this guy, he rose above it. And you would even have to give him credit. I mean, 100%. Facing 700 years in federal prison, states tried to kick him off the ballot. I know you spoke out against it, but California did have a faction that tried to kick him off the ballot, right? That's right. And despite all of that, of course, being shot, and that was kind of the crescendo of all of it, he kind of became this figure of an American comeback story. Yep. So he personified what a lot of young people, especially young men, wanted back in their politics, which was an ascendant rebel attitude against these institutions that have failed them so miserably.
Conservatives, don't lose that. Don't lose that. Don't play this game of, we got the cultural weight now. We got the culture behind us now. We're gonna start gatekeeping. Don't rest on your laurels. Don't rest. You always gotta be hunting. To stay you, to keep you the way you at right now, you gotta keep doing what you did that got you there. You don't stop. And I think this kind of protectionism of, oh, we don't want to moderate these left. No, moderate them. Because at the end of the day, they still have to answer for what they did in the past, like we all do.
I think you talked about it the other day. A lot of folks were talking about that Carville article where he talked about
roll over and play dead.
Roll over. In essence, he said that. I think it was a strategic retreat, right? That we need to come back. Trump's starting to implode. His numbers are getting soft. This was even before the tariff issues, et cetera. And then come back and strike when hot. And I immediately, no BS, thought about you, who's just 24/7 flooding the zone, owning this space, every day getting a convert, every day picking up 1, 2, 10,000 folks, continuing the momentum, coming out of this damn election. And then I'm thinking about, we're going to stand back and watch you run circles around us for 6 months, the next 2 or 3 years, waiting for the moment.
As an independent, I think one of the best tactics that conservatives do is that they confront people who, like, when they go to college campuses are overwhelmingly liberal, all overwhelmingly left wing. That's like an atheist going into a church and trying to debate, does God exist? That's effectively what Charlie Kirk does from a political ideological standpoint when he goes into these college campuses. Give me a version of that on the left. You can't find the same. You can't find the same equivalent. And I think that's the advantage conservatives have, and conservatives better maintain that advantage if they want to continue having influence.
To finally struck me as not necessarily the best advice, and it's not a knock on Carville, who I have deep respect for. What's your thoughts?
That's okay. So I don't have to. He's right about one thing in the last 40 years. It's economy stupid, and boy, he spent down that one line pretty amazingly. Yeah, I hope you guys retreat.
You kind of like the
more
advice.
For us.
You like the advice.
There's no opposition. There's no activist spark. You guys are posting these cringe videos on social media.
What are the videos? What are the ones that
I don't
are
know.
most
This
cringy?
like harmonious thing of like 22 senators.
There's one of the congresswomen in the Democratic congresswoman doing these fighter videos, which I'm sure on my next video. Democrats, y'all can't, y'all ain't hit, y'all messaging ain't hitting the same.
There's all saying the same
You
thing.
didn't like that, yeah.
I didn't like it. Go ahead, go do more of that.
What do you do?
Please.
Then? What do you do? Seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some advice.
Get better ideas, Governor.
That's what conservatives are scared of. I know why the left's scared of, because then they look like they're the ones who need to change. Because Democrats, liberals, they on this fix where they don't want to change. They want to stay the same. They want the Democratic Party to be more far left. And the fact that Gavin Newsom sitting here with Charlie Kirk, getting advice from Charlie Kirk, being confronted by Charlie Kirk on some of these issues, it don't make the left look good. It makes the left look more extreme, and that Gavin Newsom is trying to run more towards the center. Because all their life, liberals pretended that they were the center, or they're slightly off of center, but not realizing they're way over here on the left. And I think this interview highlighted how far off the party has become, to the point where they're chastising Gavin Newsom from even wrestling with the idea that it's unfair that men are playing in women's sport, aka trans women are playing in women's sports. He's getting outraged from the left about that. Charlie Kirk is getting outraged from the right, on some factions of the right, complaining about how, you shouldn't be taking interviews with Gavin Newsom because it will moderate him. Who cares about moderating him? You're trying to convince him. Imagine if Democrats were the party in the 1990s. I would take that as a win as a conservative. I'm like, we pretty much, we agree on some of the core things, and we slightly deviate here and there. That would be better for America. It may not be good for the Republican Party, but it'll be better for America. And I think that's where my head's at right now. What's better for America? Not what's better for a political party. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm still a non-party affiliated voter, because I want to focus on what's better for America. And what's better for America is that Gavin Newsom and a lot of these Democrats run more back to the center than become more far left. Now, it may not benefit Republicans politically. Sorry. It may not benefit you Republicans politically, but this was what America needs. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with my synopsis? Do you agree with my angle on this whole outrage thing over Gavin Newsom's first episode with Charlie Kirk? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget, share the video if you feel so inclined, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.